Okay, so we are on verse number 2 of chapter 1, and we're hearing from Lalita Madhava Prabhu.
Or I mean, I was going to throw it back to you if you don't mind, just perhaps, because I don't even recall hearing anything from Srila Gurudev about the meaning of that verse. Would you mind recapping in gist what Gurudev said about it?
I mean, other than what is self-evident, I think the point, like one example I remember hearing from him in regards to some double meanings was Vaibhava, Gora Vaibhava, that, you know, Vaibhava can mean extension, we hear it like that, and it can also mean wealth. So Gora Vaibhava can mean that he is, you know, an extension of Mahaprabhu, and also that he is the wealth of Mahaprabhu. That was, I think, other than what's, you know, self-evident, that was something that, you know, stuck out that I heard from Srila Gurudev.
Yeah. To be totally honest, Didi, I don't know if I can shed anything in particular on this verse, other than, like, you know, I mean, of course, multiple meanings can be drawn from it, because the nature of the grammar itself you know, things being in compound allows for those compounds to be construed or to be parsed in different ways. You know, so when you have that hyphen, that word's in compound with another word, there's some flexibility in terms of, like, how the first word relates to the second word or the third word, you know, and you have the 8 cases in Sanskrit, you know, so it's generally, it's like of Gora, or are you identifying the 2 words? Are they both in the same case? You know, essentially a description, an adjective, or is it? Yeah, I mean, it's there's but in terms of specific meanings on that verse, I'm afraid I would have to defer to others who. What did Nishant Chaitanya Prabhu say last week?
He was mum.
Yeah.
But Jayadev Prabhu actually had some specific questions about that verse. Jayadev, do you want to bring that up now?
No, as a Sanskrit dabbler, I was merely trying. I was intrigued by that idea of other meanings, and I was just trying to come up with something. That's all. I didn't have a specific question.
Okay.
I do have a question unrelated to what I said last week. When I read the translation, it sounds like it's talking about a specific deity. And then I was thinking also it was about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as the embodiment of Sri Gaura's teachings. But it doesn't actually say that in the translation.
No.
So is there a deity that's like a Gaura Saraswati deity somewhere? Because I don't know the deities that well. Or is it specifically about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as the embodiment of Gaura Vag, like speech of Gaura, or the message of Gauranga?
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, Lalita Madhava, that's actually my question too, because for example, I've heard Isha Bandhu Prabhu, he's my good friend in Australia.
Yeah.
And he always references this verse in that way. Like he speaks of it in terms of how, like, when we have like inspiration in Gaura Vag, like in the divine message of Mahaprabhu, like that's actually a deity that's descending in us, and therefore we can never let our pride attack us, because this is like a deity that's coming in us, descending in us, and bringing this inspiration and this like channeling of some divine revelation. And of course, like, that idea is all like very sedantically correct, but it just like it like what Jayadev's saying, like I never thought of the verse in that way. Like the only way I thought of the verse was in terms of speaking of Srila Saraswati Thakur as the Gaura Vag Vigraha, as the embodiment of the divine. So it's like is this verse like speaking like on all these different levels, like on one level about Saraswati Thakur as the divine embodiment Mahaprabhu's message? And then is there also like reference to like this independent deity of the divine embodiment of, you know, Mahaprabhu's message? Or do you have thoughts on that?
I think that's an interesting point. I'd have to think about it, but I mean, what is particularly interesting is that this Gaurangam, you know, that's just Mahaprabhu as well. It's the, you know, it's the golden body, but it's also I mean, who has a golden body is Mahaprabhu himself. So there's a kind of like a play there, I guess. You know, it's the message of Mahaprabhu, but it's also Mahaprabhu. It's Saraswati Thakur, you know.
Right.
And then interestingly, that into the next verse, Guru Rupa Harim Gauram, you know, it's like the Guru, Mahaprabhu is Guru as well. So there's, you know, I don't know, the interconnectedness of those concepts, you know, both Guru and Lord. Yeah, I don't really know.
One thing I'll say, you know, not in explaining this verse in particular, but just in the Bhagavad Gita commentary, Guru Maharaj, when he talks about that Sharanam Braja, and then he says, here Braja means go, but there's a type of interpretation called Dvani, which means echo, which as I understood it, it's kind of a more artistic license type of interpretation, where there's very technical ways to interpret things by the grammar, by the meaning of the words, by the definition in the dictionary. But then there's another type of interpretation, which is a bit more lenient, which, as Guru Maharaj explains it, as I remember it, echo means like if something reminds you of something, or if it sounds like something, it's like a subtle, like you can abstract other meanings in a more general way. It's, I don't know, that's how I've always understood that it's a type of interpretation that is a bit more, I guess you could say abstract, not abstract, but
or broad. You mean broad?
or like it doesn't. And actually, I would, yeah, poetic. I would actually like to hear your feedback on this, because you've, you know, studied these things more directly. But we know from, you know, past times and other things in the scriptures that there's a lot of emphasis on how things are interpreted, and say, like, there's very technical standards for how to interpret things, but at the same time, there's like the sort of off the script artistic license type of interpretation, where a person can draw meanings in a more, you know, like loose way, in a sense. I don't know if I accurately understood that, but I think it's like subtle implications. If you can abstract subtle implications, that's also a type of interpretation. It may not follow the same rules of very technical types of interpretation, but if the conclusion is agreeable, then that's also, you know, okay. And so I hearing the verse and, you know, just the discussion on it, it's like in poetry, there's like a thing where they call the double entendre, where you write something in such a way that it could have a double meaning. And it's a type of, like, you know, poetic ornament to be able to write or speak something in a way that it makes a person, oh, did they mean it like this or like this? But maybe both of those meanings are valid. So it's not that it was one or the other and one was right or one was wrong, but it was written in such a way that you could take multiple meanings that are valid from it. And so I would think that Guru Maharaj probably wrote that verse. It's like Sanskrit double entendre.
I mean, that's technically called in Sanskrit shlesha. It's a whole genre of poetry where there's like, you know, compositions written with a very deliberate double meaning, or maybe even more meanings, but double, you know, and sometimes opposite meanings, you know, but there's intention behind it. Right. Yeah, and that's slightly different from Dwani, which I mean, this is all in the realm of Alankar Shastra, which is I
was only mentioning I mentioned that Dwani one because I feel like it's almost like a like when I speak, because I don't know Sanskrit, so if I'm gonna give my interpretation, I'm like, it's like an interpretation that's very loose. So like as a disclaimer, like this might just be that if
or there's I think there's also the expression that bhavanuvad.
Right.
Well, translation.
Obviously everything can, you know, go off the rails. So I didn't, but I just meant, I was just mentioning that and to say, like, in discussing this verse, you know, I just meant that people can feel comfortable giving their different suggestions or insight, because there's such a thing as Dwani. So whatever we're hearing and trying to understand, it's not completely like inappropriate, I guess I want to say. But anyway, just on that verse, if we think Gauravat Vigraham, it's the personified. So Vigraha normally we use in relation to the Murti. So we say like it's a personified deity of Mahaprabhu's teachings. Then of the possible meanings, you know, there's no question that of the various possible agreeable meanings, one of them is that Guru Maharaj is referring to Saraswati Thakur. I think that's obvious. Then to expand that to, you know, does it mean like, because in a sense you could say Mahaprabhu is also Gauravat Vigraha. I mean, Mahaprabhu himself, he is himself the personification of his own teachings. It applies to Mahaprabhu as well. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like that principle, I'm just going on a limb a bit, but I would, you know, seeing how Guru Maharaj would use Alankar in different writings of his, he has that you know, great quality that if this is written in a way to indicate multiple meanings, then to think it refers to Saraswati Thakur obviously is appropriate. To think it is that, well, Lita, yeah, I saw you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say that I think what is very deliberately a play to, you know, in my eyes is the just the expression, as you mentioned, Godavak, Vach, associated with Saraswati, the deity Saraswati, divine sound, but also, so there's a, you know, the embodiment of the speech of Mahaprabhu, you know, in sort of generic terms, but then, you know, Saraswati, the specific himself, you know, go to Saraswati. So it has that, I think.
That if anyone heard that, you know, Vishak, you've probably heard it, like when on a tape, there's a devotee that asked Guru Maharaj, what is the meaning of Chaitanya Saraswat Mat? I don't know if anyone's ever heard that recording.
Yes, yes. It was made into an article. It's published. Yes. Wonderful.
And he gives a couple versions. It's like there's multiple, and Sanskrit in general lends to that. It's multiple meanings by nature. But Guru Maharaj gives a couple explanations. So one is, I mean, actually that might be a relevant indicator to what he's speaking about here, because he spoke about both of those contexts when he answered that. He said Chaitanya Saraswat means from Chaitanya to Saraswati, what the line of Mahaprabhu, how it came down to Saraswati Thakur, that's what we are students of. And then he says, or it can mean how Saraswati Thakur saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his divine eyes, his vision of Mahaprabhu, that's what we're students of. Then he says Saraswati also means sound, Divya Saraswati, the original, you know, we know there's demigods that have a role in this world, but then there's, in the Aprakrita Leela, there's also the position of demigods, but they serve, it's the divine, it's not the mundane Mayic demigod world, but they have a divine role in the pastimes of Krishna also. So that Divya Saraswati is who we hear, she enlightened Brahma. In Brahma Samhita, it's mentioned that when he meditated and then he heard the flute sound of Krishna, and hearing that sound, it revealed the whole vision of the spiritual world. So it's mentioned in Brahma Samhita that sound was not mundane sound, that was Divya Saraswati, that was the sounds from the transcendental world. The goddess Saraswati, who presides over knowledge, her main medium is spiritual sound. So Guru Maharaj says Chaitanya Saraswat means divine sound. Like, so we use that term Saraswati or Chaitanya Saraswati, referring to Saraswati Thakur in that answer, and then he also used it in a more broad way that just was referring to Divya Saraswati, that the divine sounds that reveal spiritual truth. Chaitanya's, the divine Divya Saraswati is carrying the divine sound, you know, that if we join Chaitanya Saraswati, means Mahaprabhu's conception, Mahaprabhu's teachings, Mahaprabhu's ideal conveyed through divine sound. That is a more general reading, but Guru Maharaj also spoke about the word Saraswati in that general way. So anyway, I'm saying that using that answer as a reference, I feel like that probably is very directly related to what interpretations could be taken from this verse. So I kind of,
well, those phrases are synonymous, like Gauravag and Chaitanya Saraswati, right?
Right. One second, I just gotta, I'm gonna mute.
It is a very interesting translation of I make my obeisance to the deity, Gauda Saraswati, Vigraham, Gauda Saraswati. And I never really thought about that.
Would you have translated it differently?
Probably, but that's simply due to, I don't know, you know, short-sightedness or lack of vision on my part. It's interesting. It really, I don't have the Bangla translation to hand right now, so I can't see what it was translated from. But
Well, you want to lead us into the third verse, the Lita Madhu Prabhu? And
Wait, I have an idea.
Anyone has any? Okay, yeah,
I do. So there's a few things. I don't know the Sanskrit stuff, but just reading it in English, like the bodily luster, the beautiful golden hue. And it was always intoxicated by preaching the message of that golden Lord. I mean, to me, the whole verse just seems to be speaking about the book itself, the deity.
Wow, beautiful. That's an interesting angle.
That's what I came off with.
Especially because the book actually has golden, how to say, endings to the pages.
Yeah, the endings are gold.
Veer Chandra Prabhu, can't we have your darshan, please?
Okay.
We'll pay. we'll give some pranami.
It's really hot here, so I'm kind of not in the best spiritual clothes. I'm like in South India, you know, the Brahmins without shirt, but I'll get a shirt on. But it's really good to see you all, and man, just hearing everyone kind of, it's just, I just feel so honored to be here. So thank you, Vishaka, for letting me hang out with the cool kids.
It does feel like a cool kid club, doesn't it?
Really, I like that. Seeing Girdhari and Brajamohini and Austin, and we're just all over the world. It's so cool, and you know, and we have the most amazing content in the world that we are sharing and appreciating with our family. I don't know what's better, honestly. I just know there's no drug, there's no other experience I can think of that's better than this, than being in Gurudev's, you know, association, which I didn't have so many chances of that, but but this is like having his associations. Thank you all. And now I have a shirt. So I feel okay. I'm
Well,
here.
we're super happy you're with us. And any other thoughts from anyone, or should we move on to the next verse?
I have one last question for the Tamadava. So as you mentioned, there's a type of Alankar Slasha, so I'm sure different types of Alankar have, you know, I'm assuming there's defined patterns or structures, so you can look at a verse and be like, oh, this is written with this type of ornament. So looking at those verses, do you see, just knowing something about different types of Alankar, do you see them, are they written in any specific format that you recognize from that?
No.
Okay.
You're asking the wrong person. I've got a little bit of Sanskrit knowledge, but you know, in certain contexts, that's considered being a Sanskrit pundit. In other contexts, it's being considered a complete neophyte.
Right.
So,
Yeah, fair enough.
So no.
So by that same measure, you're a neophyte, then I'm whatever is.
Yeah,
couple.
sure.
So.
I mean, I think what what really has struck me now, thinking about it and thinking about what Nrsimha Chaitanya Prabhu has said, that that double meaning of, you know, like on the one hand, Chaitanya to Saraswati, the very specific Parampar lineage, you know, the you know, it's you know, just one current in a sense, but at the same time, it's the message of Mahaprabhu. It's the most, it's, you know, it's also universal, that sort of paradox in a sense, you know, so both, yeah, Gaudavag, just the, you know, the speech of Mahaprabhu, and at the same time, Saraswati Thakur, you know, who is the embodiment, the very particular embodiment.
You know, it's like we you know, Guru Maharaj in Subjective Evolution, he talks about the vision of rishis of ancient times, and he said, you know, everything that they see, they understand that it comes from personality. Like on one level, people realize everything comes from Brahman, but at a higher, like more, you know, realize, and it's like there's a personal nature behind divinity, beyond the abstract, and everything that we see manifested even in the mundane world has a personality. It's an energy that originates from a personality, and ultimately there's a personified form of all those things of that type that are drawn from that type of energy. So taking that same type of methodology, Guru Maharaj is, you know, I would think it's safe to say he's speaking about the teachings of Mahaprabhu in that same context. There's the teachings of Mahaprabhu, and then there's the personality that personifies those teachings. So I would say if it's said that it can be taken multiple ways, then, like I said, Saraswati Thakur is definitely one of the meanings, and then, you know, basically anything in that line that would fit in that context, I would think could also be considered.
So like, to sum it up, could we say like there are three principal meanings here, like glorification of Saraswati Thakur, glorification of Mahaprabhu, and then also glorification of the message, of divine message of Mahaprabhu. Would you go with that, Lalita Madhavu?
Yeah, certainly.
I think that's a safe summary.
Yeah. It is also really interesting to think that, so there's, you know, the first word essentially of words of the, you know, Sri Guru, but in a sense there's no direct or explicit glorification of Saraswati Thakur. There's, you know, like, you know, it's all encoded, and interestingly, and then again in verse 4, you know, which we'll come to, but Prabhupada, you know, it's there again, but it's then, you know, encrypted in sort of double meaning. Interesting.
You know, another thing is, like you can probably say more on this, but like we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Mahaprabhu is examining Rupa Goswami, you know, like we get some glimpse into this whole world of Sanskrit Vaishnava composition, and there's like a whole system there. And so one of the things, so like the introduction of your work, there's a whole system that you're following, right? And so like one of those things is the prayer to the Ishta Devata. So this second verse, that's what that is, right? It's the prayer, it's invoking the grace of the, although the Ishta Devata, as you're pointing out, isn't like directly, like Saraswati Thakur isn't actually directly being mentioned there. But he is being indicated as the Ishta Devata. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, sounds great. I agree. I think, yeah, very much so.
Do we know Guru Maharaj's Ishta Devika? Or no? Is that a thing?
Lalita Madhva, do you want to answer that question?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the question. I'm having a little funny thing with my internet.
Well, Ishta Devata means one's worshipable deity, like one's chosen deity. So Prabhu's asking, do we know who Guru Maharaj's Ishta Devata is? You know.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense as well, it's in the first verse as well. No, Shri Guru Gaura Gandharva Govinda. They're all, you know, Shri Guru Gauranga and Gandharva Govinda. I would think. Yeah, interesting.
It is Guru, it is Gaur, and it is Radha Govinda.
Radha Govinda, Gandharva Govinda. Yeah. I was going to ask, actually, sorry, I wasn't here last week, so please forgive me. But so I saw that the text itself at the very end mentions that it was the composition was finished in 1943. The Mutt was it was founded in 1941. You know, Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt. At what point were the deities installed? Gandharva Govinda Sundar.
Well, actually, Mahaprabhu came first. I believe he came, we were actually reading this the other day in Golden Reflections. He came like not too far after the Second World War.
Okay.
And then Gandharva Govinda Sundar, they came in the early 50s. I'd have to check the exact date, but they came several years later.
Oh, that's interesting. So I mean, that then gives some indication of very much in mind conceptually Gandharva Govinda Sundar, and then he names the deities after the. I mean, it's in the verse comes first. The text comes first. That's interesting.
That's right. Yeah, they weren't there. Even actually, you're right. They weren't there. Wow. Whoa. That's a very interesting point.
Yeah. So in terms of Ishta Devatas, I don't. Yeah. That's
interesting. Well, you know what? Because Srila Saraswati Thakur, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he established the Math in Gupta Govardhan.
Really?
And so,
oh yeah,
well, yeah,
of course. Sorry, I thought you meant Govardhan. Yeah, sorry, Gupta Govardhan.
No.
I was suddenly going, what in Govardhan? That's
because Koladreep is Guru Govardhan. Sorry, Koladreep is Gupta Govardhan. I mean, I only had 3 hours of sleep last night. My brain. Yeah, so Koladreep is Gupta Govardhan, right? So therefore, you know, Govinda, Lord of the Cows, right? That is very appropriate for Govardhan. And Gandharva is indicating, you know, singing and dancing, right? Which is relevant to Gaura Leela. You know, that was one reason Srila Sridhar Maharaj liked that name. So like maybe, yeah, he like he had that special inspiration in that place, you know, perhaps. Yeah, that's a very interesting point that he's mentioning their names before the deities had come. Very interesting. several years. This could be 10 years before,
10 years
actually.
before it. Wow. So
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting.
were the deities in the Bhagavad Gita, the Gandharvika, was that one of the, was Gandharvika?
Well, the deities of Chaitanya Mat and Mayapur, they were Gandharvika.
Gandharvika, okay.
And as I recall, Srila Sridhar Maharaj initially wanted to give that name, but then because Saraswati Thakur already gave that to the deities in Chaitanya Mat, then he selected Gandharva instead. But he did give those names to the deities in Sokel, and he described, didn't he? Chinmoy Prabhu can probably confirm. He described those deities as non-different from those deities at the Chaitanya Mat.
Wow.
Yeah. You heard that, Chinmoy Prabhu?
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, very nice reflections. Nice. Suvasini Didi, do you have any thoughts to share?
No, really happily listening. It's nice actually. But also here, I just think it's for the first verse, the translation is it said Sri Sri Gandharva Giridhari. Yeah, Sri Sri Radha Krishna. That's it says.
Yeah, I don't know why he put that in the translation. I mean, those are the names of the deities in Mayapur, the Chaitanya Mat, right?
Yeah, Gandharvika.
But maybe that was put in the Bengali translation for some reason.
Yeah, maybe it was put in the Bengali. And of course, as we're saying, the deities hadn't manifested yet fully at the Mat in Navadip. You know, I'm sure if they were there, maybe the translation might have been different. Who knows?
Right.
You know, direct reference to the deities themselves. Yeah, sorry,
Another question. So do you have a copy of the Bengali Prapanna Jivanamrtam? You must, right?
Yeah, I stupidly didn't bring it to Austria.
Okay,
but I probably do have it on as an e-copy.
Maybe in the future, whenever you have a chance to check, I'd be curious to know if that footnote, or maybe you know off the top of your head, but that footnote about multiple meanings, is that in the original Bengali, or is that?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, so that means, I would think that, because originally when I read the English, I assumed Sagar Maharaj or whoever was translating put that there, that they read the Sanskrit and they said, oh, there's too many verses to put in one, there's too many meanings to put in one translation. So then they put that asterisk or whatever, that there's multiple meanings here. But if it's in the original Bengali, then I would think that Guru Maharaj put it there. And if Guru Maharaj himself put it there, then that's more compelling. Like Guru Maharaj is like, I put a bunch of meanings in this. Like,
yeah. Or I wonder though whether Srila Guru Maharaj himself translated the text, or at least he would have instructed whoever was translating.
That's something. Not. Yeah, that's. I mean, not that he may have like did it with his own hand, put it there, but I'm sure it was closely done under his supervision. So I would think, you know, that he definitely, whether with his own hand or not, but had a direct influence in that being put there, which is pretty, I don't know, compelling in a sense. Like, it's like, I wrote this verse with multiple meanings. Like, can you enter that?
We actually have this as a PDF. I'll send it to you. It's on the Gaudiya Darshan site. I'll send it to you, Lalita Madhupur. Maybe you can have a look at some point there. But maybe we should, the Prapanna Jivanamrtam.
In Bangla.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. If you could send it via the chat or something, that would be great. Yeah,
I'm sending it to you in a link in Messenger. But maybe we should move on to the third verse. No, it's interesting. This second verse, it's like we spent most of last week talking about it, and now we're spending most of this week talking about it.
Sorry, that's partly my fault for.
No, I'm saying it's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's just showing you how much depth there is. And we're only skimming the surface, actually.
I just heard Gurudev talk about how Saraswati Thakur, when he would explain the Srimad Bhagavatam, he would take 1 month to explain one verse.
Hmm.
And at first he couldn't believe it. But then when he's, was hearing from Guru Maharaj and more, he said there's no short question. I mean, there is a short question, but there's infinite answer always.
There's no short answer.
Right, no short answer.
There can be a very short question and it can be a very long answer.
Exactly.
Wow.
Hi.
Which really makes, I think Sanskrit is definitely a divine language, and we can see the divine personalities. They can extract so much out of it. I mean, just the example of Mahaprabhu with the Amarama verse, taking out 61 explanations. And we can see that with Srila Sridhar Maharaj as well, extracting so much out of something that, for us who just look at the literal meaning, have no idea it's actually in there. That is their capacity.
So some also.
No, please, Prabhu.
I was just saying, surely that sometimes I think of it. I mean, I don't know that that's the intention, but like, because since like the Atmaram verse, for example, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave so many explanations, but all with a certain bent, a certain type of interpretation, which indicated the verse could be taken those ways, but it could be taken so many other ways. But when he went to explain it, he basically revealed where he was at. He didn't necessarily show what the verse was saying, but he showed where his level of thinking was at. And then Mahaprabhu went and gave so many more explanations. That at that time he didn't do the 61 that was later to Sanatana Goswami, but he gave so many more explanations, and all of a devotional type. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was converted by that. But I think it's interesting sometimes, like I don't want to say, I guess, somewhat ambiguity of Sanskrit, not in a negative sense, but just that it lends to different types of potential readings. It's very revealing about the reader. It's like more important to reveal where the reader's at and how they're reading that verse. Like, you see what I'm saying? And then when you have great souls, Mahaprabhu, great acharyas, or so they can extract that very, very deep meaning that rises to the standard of, like Bhagavatam begins, Dharma Projita, it kind of sets the bar for a certain quality, a certain standard of transcendental knowledge that is free from so many other, say compromises or mixtures. So when the great souls come in who can read that level meaning of the verse that rises to the standard of, transcendental knowledge, pure devotion, whatever, then they, it's like they get to see where everyone else is at. Like, how did you read this? It's like, oh, this word means this and this word means this. And they know that it can mean other things, but the reason the person is seeing it that way is because that's where their mind, that's where their temperament is. And I don't know, that's just something I've thought about when thinking about how Sanskrit can carry so many meanings. It's revealing about the reader, and then in good association, a person can come and say that can also mean this, or that doesn't mean that, it means this, and kind of lift that person up to a higher perspective.
That's a very interesting point, I think. Very interesting.
Yeah.
What do you say, Lalita Prabhu?
Sorry, the point I was going to, in response to Nrsimha Chaitanya, and I think that's why certain Sanskrit, certain texts just can only really be studied under guidance. Sanskrit is such that, Vedanta Sutras being one example, that they're so terse and there's so much scope for that you need the guidance of the qualified interpreters to be able to tease anything out at all, really. I think there's also something to be said for, like, I don't know, reading superficially, but some, you know, both the depth, but also, you know, there's that sort of hermeneutic circle that you understand the whole or the part in relation to the whole, but then, you know, the whole in relation to the part, and it's this ever deepening sort of spiral of understanding, you know. So sometimes also stepping back and getting a sense of like the overarching flow and structure of the text, which can be missed at times when, you know, when you're spending, like, I don't know, a month on a verse, and next then, you know, and then you lose the so I think a balance of both is enlightening as well at times. Yeah.
That's a very nice point.
Just another thing, sorry, quickly, that like, you know, sometimes we hear in past times where someone speaks a certain way and they know that this person is going to hear it this way and this person is going to hear it this way.
Yeah.
And maybe both those meanings are appropriate for the respective audiences. So it's like scriptures are giving advice to a wide variety of people, a wide variety of, they cover many bases. So sometimes it's not so much that it's like, oh, misinterpretation and you got it wrong, but it's like, no, there's multiple levels of readings that may be valid and appropriate, and they're written in such a way that people across different spectrums may hear it differently, but it will be helpful. And anyway, I don't know, could go on all day about that, but just, again, it kind of directly or indirectly, what it ends up highlighting is the importance of association. Those who can find the level of meaning that's appropriate for your level, and those who know the ultimate higher, deeper levels and can, you know, sort of reveal that in a meaningful way, being able to assess where people are at. So in the end, it all kind of comes back to that, you know, what is it? The Bhagavat Stan, what is that? You know, it's a Vishaka, you know, read Bhagavatam in the association of the devotees.
Oh, Bhagavat Pada Vaishnavar Stane, that verse.
Right. Something like that.
Which is a great justification for reading groups as well, like this. It's, yeah.
Well, should we enter into Guru Rupa Harim Goram? This is perhaps, well, I can't say the most popular, but it's a very favorite verse of many devotees. This third verse of the prelude, Guru Rupa Harim Goram, very, very beautiful pranam to Mahaprabhu. So, Alita Madhavu, please take us through it.
I'll read it, and then I guess just Guru Rupa Harim Goram Radha Ruchiru Chavritam Nityam Nami Navadvipe Nama Kirtana Nartanai. Perpetually do I sing the glories of Lord Gauranga, who is the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, embraced by the heart and halo of Sri Radhika, and who has descended as the divine master. In this holy abode of Sri Navadip Dham, he is absorbed in the pastimes of profusely chanting the holy names, dancing in ecstasy. Just looking at this. Yeah.
Please share your thoughts.
I don't know, to get going. Yeah, I not so much a realization or anything, but really the description of Mahaprabhu as Guru as well is always, I don't know, I guess it makes sense, but it always somewhat, I wanted to inquire further about that. The Lord is Guru, Gaura as Hari in the form of Guru. when is the Lord not in the form of Guru? Yeah, Nrsimha Chaitanya Prabhu.
Vishaka, did you want to speak? I don't want to like.
No, please, you speak.
I've thought that, thinking about that verse, I think the kind of specific point being highlighted there is that we know that, you know, like Guru Maharaj says, like at a distance, all we see is Krishna. And then as we get closer, we see Krishna, his associates, so many things, like the mountain, the analogy of the mountain. And so the idea of Krishna as guru, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is acting as guru. But even in Gita, it's always, and it caught my attention, like way before I heard many things that kind of shed some light on it. It always caught me as weird. Like when Krishna says in Gita, like Gyaninas Tattvadarshina, when he's instructing Arjuna to find the guru. So Krishna is acting as guru. When he's acting as guru, he tells Arjuna, like he speaks in a sense of, I mean, just just to say it in a simple way, like go find I don't want to say that like that. But he doesn't, even when he's speaking as guru, he doesn't, even in that verse where he's telling Arjuna, like, you know, surrender, inquire, serve under a guru, under a tattvadarshi, like he refers to it as someone else. He doesn't put himself as that person, which really caught me when I heard, I'm like, why is Krishna telling him to, like, right now Krishna's acting as guru, why is he telling him to surrender to a guru? Then later on, you know, we hear so much importance about the devotees, that like when Krishna tells Arjuna, one who claims to be my devotee directly, that's not really my devotee, one who is a devotee of my devotee. So in the Krishna as guru is in a general sense, a broad sense, but as you get closer, you realize that the guru is teaching devotion to Krishna. The ultimate teachings that a guru can give are about Shuddha Bhakti, Parama Bhakti. This is the highest evolution of Buddhi Yoga. So a guru who is, as you're getting closer, or rather a more evolved relationship, the idea of guru is the teacher of devotion. So when you get a little closer, a little more specific, Krishna is the recipient of devotion. It's like Krishna himself is not as.
Hello, are you there, Nrsimha?
You gone on mute.
Muted. You're muted, Nrsimha.
My thing went on mute. I got it. I think of the analogy of, like, if you went to serve a king, if you say, oh, I want to become the cook for a king, and you get that position, they allow you in, and then you go to the king, you're like, all right, show me how to do it. The king is like, no, I don't cook. Like, I eat, I consume the skilled cooks. That's their specialty. I enjoy their preparations. So if you want to cook for the king, you need to go to the cook. They're going to teach you how to prepare something for the king. The king himself isn't the person that teaches you how to serve him. It's the servants that teach you how to serve him. So the closer you get to the idea of guru, the more it shifts to the devotee, who is themselves the example of devotion to Krishna. And Krishna is the recipient of devotion. So Krishna doesn't directly teach you how to serve him. He's the recipient of devotion. But in the case of Mahaprabhu, Krishna wants to taste the mood of a devotee. So Krishna, who's normally the recipient or the object of devotion, wants to taste the mood of devotion. So now Krishna is coming to the role of a devotee, and then he actually directly acts in the capacity of guru in the specific sense of the embodiment of devotion. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Am I out on a limb here?
Sorry, can you summarize the gist in a sentence or two?
Yes. So Krishna specifically say Guru Rupa Harim means Hari in the form of Guru. So why would that be specifically mentioned here as opposed to generally Hari is also always Guru, Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. More specifically, Krishna in the form of Guru means Krishna has assumed the role of a devotee, and in the position of a devotee, he can actually fulfill the function of Guru to its full extent. Whereas when
like
Krishna himself,
that idea there.
Right, because when Krishna himself is acting as Guru, it's only partial in a sense. When Krishna acts as Guru,
that's a very general idea. Krishna's an enjoyer, you know. Krishna's not interested in saving people. No.
So I have to pick up Nancy. I'm sorry, I gotta head off. But sorry to end abruptly. I apologize about that. But I was like, sorry, I forgot my thought. When Krishna acts directly as Guru, he tells you to find his devotee. Like that's as far as he goes. When he himself acting as Guru, he says, all right, I'll teach you this, but ultimately, if you want to enter into the culture of devotion, you have to find my devotee and get their association. They will show you through their own example and heart what devotion is. And so in the context of Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself actually takes on that role of a devotee. And so he embodies that full role of Guru. That's my interpretation of that.
I think that's great. And then just to briefly add to that, and then how is he assuming the form of Guru, or in what is really the sort of dynamo that's inspiring that activity? Radha Ruchi Ruchavritam, that by taking the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, he's assumed the form of Guru.
That's it exactly. It's only under the influence of his potency that he has that desire to distribute Krishna and to bring people to Krishna.
Just on this point also in Bhagavad Gita, and Guru Maharaj interpretation of Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matta Sarvam Pravartate. That one, so even how we worship me, that also comes from me, right? That is, he says that. So Matta Sarvam Pravartate. So that is also there.
Beautiful. Perfect. Very nice.
It is interesting that again in the English and in the Bangla, there's the as with verse 2, expanded purports may be drawn from this verse. But did you have any insight into what sort of alternate meanings could be? Because the meaning seems fairly straightforward, actually.
I remember Goswami Maharaj mentioning some double meanings in this verse, actually. Now you've mentioned, I'd forgotten, and now you've mentioned it. I remember Goswami Maharaj mentioning some double meanings here, but nothing that I can recall.
Yeah, it seems fairly straight.
I think it was specifically in that phrase, Radha Ruchi Vuchavritam. There was a word in there in particular, I think I remember Goswami Maharaj highlighting.
Actually, while we're on this subject, can I ask a question I've had for a while? Because it says heart and halo, and I was wondering, because I don't, what is the difference between this word richi and rucha? And there's no word for word, or maybe one of you has the word for word, but what does that actually mean? I know heart and halo is one interpretation, but what does that word rucha mean relative to ruchi?
I think, well, in my understanding is that ruchi is like the taste, you know, root, yeah, the so I guess
The
that
feeling, like the
feeling,
love,
yeah,
the feeling.
exactly, equated with heart. You know, this is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's expression, heart and halo. But and then rucha, like luster or the
Okay.
effulgence. So the
Thank you.
halo in yeah, and Avrata Bhava Duty Suvalita. You know, the Bhava duty, both the heart and the duty, the duty, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a beautiful verse, and it's very, I mean, and actually this is one of the qualities that we see in Srila Sridhar Maharaj's compositions, that he has this ability to, in a very concise way, express so much, because like in these two lines, he's encapsulated like all of the significant points about Mahaprabhu's descent.
Mm.
You know, the place of his divine pastimes, you know, his nature as you know, on the public level, you know, like these three verses at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita describing the internal and external reasons for Mahaprabhu's descent. Like those points are summarized here. You know, he's coming as this guru form to save the souls of this world, and he's also coming with this inner mood and, you know, desire to taste the heart of Radharani. Oh, Kunti, thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. Yeah, and actually, I remember Gurudev mentioning once how in Pranam mantras there's this there's a system of where you mention the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, right? So maybe that's another nice way to appreciate this verse.
Mm.
You know, these four aspects, the name, the description of the divine, this divine golden form, his quality. What would his quality be here?
Would it be Radha Ruchi Ruchavritam? This is the quality, Gun, Lila. Nam, Rup, Guna, and Lila. So the Guna being that, and then the Lila being the Nama, Kirtan, and Artanai.
Right.
In Navadip. It's also like, I mean, this doesn't seem at all controversial to us or a thing. It's we just take it for granted. The eternality of Mahaprabhu's dancing. You know, that there's the bowing eternally to that. There's in that there's, you know, yeah, there's also some conceptions of Mahaprabhu that don't assert that, you know, everything becomes in the end ultimately Mahaprabhu is the pathway to Krishna, you know. Yeah.
But because there are some conceptions, they don't appreciate the eternality of Mahaprabhu.
No, yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's the, you know, showing the way to Vrindavan, and then then you're there. But that's very much not Guru Maharaj's mood. Srila Sridhar Maharaj's mood. No, it's is Ishtadevata in that sense very much being Mahaprabhu as well. Yeah, and the eternality of that. Yeah.
And that point, and maybe we'll finish soon because we don't need to go on, and I don't want to dishonor Janardhan Maharaj just starting a class.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But just maybe to check with you, Lalita Prabhu. This is part of the significance of the name that Gurudev gave to the deity of Shiva, Sadashiva, right? That he names that deity Sadashiva Gangadhar, because like as I understand, right? You know, Gangadhar is a known name for Shiva, you know, the holder of the Ganga, and so is Sadashiva. But the fact that Gurudev combines these two things, like, indicated the eternality of Navadip, of the Navadip Leela.
Yeah. And I think we kind of take it for granted now, as I said, in the BBT Bhagavatam front cover, you see, you know, Goloka Vrindavan and Navadip, and they're both sides of that. But actually, that is also, you know, that was maybe a revelation as well. You know, for some, yeah, it's without going into too much detail. That's it.
Okay. Well, anyone have any closing thoughts or questions for our panel? Or should we stop there?
I have one
Braja-
closing thought, only that I want to affirm how much I appreciate the format of this and how one verse went over 2 Zoom meetings, how it's all being beautifully unpacked and discussed instead of just being gone over really quickly. I love that. So I just want to say, I heard there was some commentary about it earlier that I very much appreciate that because it's hard to find. You don't find that. So very, very much grateful.
Chai. Well, yeah, I mean that the fact you're saying that makes this meeting successful, because that was the whole idea behind it. You know?
I even have more questions and ideas on that last verse, but I had to hold back because we got to move, at least move on a little bit, you know.
Giridhar Prabhu, you look like you're about to say something.
I share the sentiments. Jai Dave. It's a wonderful group here. It's nice to hear from everybody.
Chai. Hey, Veera Chandra Prabhu, any closing thoughts?
No, very happy. Very happy. I'm just thinking golden, 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 golden. And Mahaprabhu revealing, you know, the divine pastimes of and another Leela, and it's all blowing my mind, of course, and making me feel very fortunate. So thank you for everyone's beautiful participation. I want to give you guys all big hugs and just know I'm thinking of you all, even though I'm terrible at social distancing and social media. So I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't know what I am. I'm just anti-social.
That's a good one. I'm going to remember that. We can make a t-shirt.
So anyways, love you guys and miss you all.
We love you too, Veera Chandra Prabhu. And but we have Braja Bala here. You've been anonymously attending today. You want to share any last words with us?
Dandavats to
Dandavad.
everyone. Not pronouns. I'm just very happy to be here. I'm a neophyte, so I don't think I should share my thoughts. I'm better at listening to your elevated thoughts, and I'm very grateful for an opportunity to be present here today. And thank you very much, Vishakha, for letting me join this group.
Oh, we're very happy to have you with us, Brajabala, also in Ukraine. And also we have Varun, last but not least. Are you using a virtual background of this temple there? It looks very funny.
Yeah, I may have. Yeah, I just it's better than like the backboard of the bed. So.
You look like a hologram.
Oh yeah.
You're like flickering in a very mystical way.
Yeah, this was taken from my car, so.
Any final words for our closing today?
No, same as always. Thanks for letting me just listen in and absorb all these points. I know some of them are fine and subtle, and some of them are, maybe above my head right now. But I think they're gonna sink in at some level. So I have my own interpretations, but I'm still trying to figure out where they place in from all the other teachings that I hear day to day. But I appreciate all your analysis and thoroughness in all of it.
Very nice. Thanks, Varun. And Chintamani also. We didn't hear anything from Chintamani today.
Dandavad. See you tomorrow.
Okay, great. Okay, well, we're ending with It said you're meant to end with something sweet, right? In Sanskrit poetry, right, Lalita Madhava?
So, are you asking me to give you something sweet?
No, I'm saying, isn't it? Well, I'm saying Chintamani, she's a sweet way to
Oh,
end.
sorry. Yeah. Wonderful. That's right.
But
Sorry.
I was just confirming with you. It is said that, right, about in Sanskrit compositions or something like that.
Probably. I'm being
You
looked at
haven't
as a
heard
person
it.
who knows about Sanskrit, but I really don't know all these things.
Okay.
So,
Okay, well, we'll close there, and we're so grateful to all of you for participating and making this a wonderful meeting, and especially Lita Madhu Prabhu, we're very, very grateful to you. So if you can keep coming and giving us your.
oh yeah, no, it's really fun. It's great. Yeah, this is cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, well, I'll leave the room open for a little bit in case anyone wants to you know, say anything, share anything with each other. I'll just turn off my video here. And so my dandavats to all of you. See you all very soon.
Dandavats. Dandavats.
Adios.